Hi everyone, my name is Taylor, my middle name is Lynn, and I'm the owner of Mint by Lynn, which is a clothing accessory shop on Etsy, so definitely come check me out. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about conventions, so artist alleys. Where do you find them, how do you apply for them, and how do you best smartly apply for them is kind of the key here. Pretty much right from the get-go, where do you look to find them? So the broadest place to look for them is definitely animecons.com and fancons.com. Okay, so with both of these, so one's more anime based and the other is more Comic-Con based, you can search for these by region as well as year. So the next best place I would say to look for conventions are on Instagram. So I find most of my conventions here, I would say. What I like to do is I like to scroll back a full year to see when they put their applications out. That's about when you want to expect the applications for next year. So you just kind of have to start keeping mental notes or even write them down. Maybe put a little reminder on your calendar to start looking to see when the applications go out, because you definitely don't want to miss your window. Let's kind of talk about the different types of artist alley applications. So some artist alleys are first come first served, some are lottery based, and some are jury based. So your first come first served, you have to be on your A game, okay? I was fighting for my life to get into FlameCon, I swear. So those can sell out in seconds, or they take a little bit longer to sell out, and those are the ones that are a bit easier to get into for sure. So next is lottery based. So many cons do this to be more fair to like the lesser known artists. And then some do half jury, half lottery. So then the jury is kind of like applying for a job every single time you put in an application. So you definitely want to put your best self out there. So that's basically when they have a panel of judges and they go through each and every artist and kind of decide if they want you. They usually curate it to what their audience is, as well as making sure they don't have too many of one type of artist. Alright, what does an application look like? Okay, so basically your requirements, you're going to want your business name. A lot of conventions also want like your logo as well as a small description of your business. That way, if you do get in, they can use that to then put on their website. Some conventions actually have essay questions, so definitely be on the lookout for that. I would say the one most recently that I did that had essay questions was Anime Expo, which is of course the big one over in California. But you know, shoot your shot. I don't have high hopes that I'm gonna get into that, but like, it's AX, might as well apply, right? Something that's kind of important that you definitely have to be on the lookout for is that some conventions actually require you to have your tax licenses as well as proof of insurance. So for tax licenses, I'm going to link down below a really good resource that kind of has it state by state what you need as a traveling artist. This is my first year that I've ever gotten the insurance. So for the insurance, it's mostly for the venues. They don't want to be liable for anything. So they do have like pretty inexpensive artist insurance. So I decided this year I'm going to use ACT insurance. I did the full year just because I am anticipating going to a lot of conventions. So definitely look into that and look into those. I found that this one is probably the cheapest and best option for me. The most important part of your application is your portfolio. A lot of them prefer that you don't use your social media as your portfolio. Some of them accept DeviantArt, but I prefer to do my own website because it feels more professional as well as a lot more customizable. So there's a few things that you definitely need in your convention portfolio. So of course that would be what you sell, okay, and your table setup. You definitely want to realize what you have going for you, right? So my social media, I don't have a lot of followers on any of my social media accounts, but I do have about 900 sales on Etsy as well as a YouTube channel that could be a great way to advertise for their own convention. Keep in mind when you do put your socials on your page, make sure you kind of look at what order you put them in. So I have mine as like my Etsy and then my YouTube channel are kind of first in that area because I want them to look at that more so than my Instagram. You want your portfolio to be really easy to look at. These jurors, they are looking at hundreds, maybe even a couple thousand applications, okay? You don't want to have to make them look for your stuff. You want it to be really easy. So that's why I have 2 sets of buttons. I have one right underneath my description as well as up at the top. You might want to organize your portfolio in a way that may be able to separate your fan work versus your original art. There are some conventions that prefer more original art, like OhioCon. Another thing that's really important is your portfolio aesthetic. So you want your portfolio to feel like your brand. That way you're more recognizable. You have your own color scheme, your own vibe. And if you kind of carry that throughout everything you do, then it's going to stick in people's minds a little bit more, right? Alright, so the next thing we kind of want to talk about is being smart about applying. So I'm still kind of learning how to do this. Not gonna lie, again, this is only my second year of applying to conventions, so this is just from my first experience as like a new coming artist. If you're just starting, definitely shoot for first come first serve cons. So those, again, they just have it open until they fill up. You're going to be able to shoot your shot here, and that's where you kind of get to show off your table setup and everything. Definitely apply for jury cons as well. It's very important to start doing that like really early. That way, even if you don't get in this first year, that's okay. I just got waitlisted for MomoCon today. Like, it happens, it's going to happen, right? The more years that you do it, the more likely you are to get in. So definitely, even if this is your first year and you don't have a table set up or anything ready, like, definitely start applying. Something else that's super important is that you want to read the limitations of every single convention you're applying to. There are some conventions that they have restrictions. So OhioCon, they only allow 10% of your table to be fan art. So if most of your shop is fan art, it's going to be a little bit more tough to get into this one. Also, Anime Boston, if you have a sticker shop, you probably don't want to apply to this one because they don't allow stickers of any kind. That was probably like a venue issue they must have had years ago. Very curious about it. If you're just starting out, how do you know if you want to invest a lot into a table? So something you might want to look into is find manufacturers that don't have minimums. I can't really speak a lot for people who do a lot of art prints. I'm sure it's a lot easier to get just like 5 or 10 copies of your work there, but I know for me it's a little bit more difficult considering I'm working with a lot of soft goods and apparel, things like that. You're not going to have as high as profit margin starting out doing it that way. Just as a way to get your foot in the door, you might as well just give it a shot. That way you don't have to invest too much into it and you don't have a ton of things left over if you decide it's not for you at the end of the day. Okay, transportation and cost. This is one of the most important things. Of course, there's always not everything's for profit, could just love art doing this, but for people like me who are trying to make this their like full-time thing, be careful with this. So it's been a pretty big learning curve for me over the past year, trying to balance cost versus convention. Once you factor in, okay, hotels, food, transportation, the table costs, it all adds up so fast. I promise. So you're looking at like $250 a night for a hotel. Your table is probably $200 to $300, maybe $400. You need your transportation, so your gas is probably $60. If you have to take a train or something like that, that's also probably around there. Are you inviting a helper? Are you paying for their food? Do you have to pay for an extra ticket for them? It adds up, okay? And then you get there and it's like a really small con and you're like, hold on, how do I make back table? Okay, that's a term you're gonna hear a lot at Artist Alleys. It'll be like Friday evening and you'll hear people be like, yes, I just made table. That means all of Sunday is gonna be profit. But again, be careful. I would say that the smaller conventions, definitely you want those to be more local. For reference, I'd consider a small con to be like 2,000 to 6,000 attendees, a medium con from like 7,000 to 20,000 attendees, and then a large con 21,000 plus. So it's definitely a coin flip on whether or not you're going to make profit at a small con if you're traveling and have to afford all of those costs. Transportation, so most people, this probably isn't going to be a problem, but for me, I live in Philadelphia, I don't have a car, it's really tough. I am lucky enough to be in a city that has a lot of transportation around the East Coast because of trains and stuff. Oh my gosh, okay. I'm trying to be a little bit more independent with this stuff this year. And so from looking at the baggage requirements on the trains, some locations have checked bags, others don't. That's something you have to really look at, like place to place, station to station. How far away is the station from the hotel and convention center? What times do the trains run? If the train only gets there at noon every day, that means I would have to go the day before, which is another hotel night, and probably stay the day after if they don't have any cons running after the convention ends. So that's an extra 2 nights in the hotel. So I have to be really careful about what cities I'm signing up for. It's all a little kind of confusing. You kind of get into the swing of it the more you do it. It is really nerve-wracking, but you know, at the end of the day, guys, just apply. I think this year I've applied to about 15 or so conventions just for the first half of the year. Waitlisted for about half of them so far, but have gotten into quite a few. So again, unfortunately I won't be able to go to OhioCon anymore this year due to personal circumstances, but I will be at AwesomeCon in DC in early March, as well as Zenkaikon in kind of like mid to end March. I hope to see you guys there. If you come over to me and be like, oh my god, I watch your YouTube videos or I follow you on Instagram, I'll give you a free sticker. So, you know, remember to like, comment, subscribe, all of those things so that we can hang out again soon, yeah? Okay, bye!
Sunrise 4 a.m.